Welcome to the ride with Wild Wayne Cartwright, an exciting thrill ride through the wonderful world of HBCU athletics. Before our trip begins, let's set a few ground rules. First, subscribe to this YouTube channel. Second, hit the like button. Third, please be sure to tell someone else about this show. Now that we've got these things out of the way, it's time for our journey to begin. Sit back, relax, and enjoy your ride.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome on in to another spectacular Sunday recap edition of The Ride with your man Wild Wayne Cartwright. Ladies and gentlemen, we just concluded a great week number 12, and we getting ready to get it rolling. So you know what we do at this time. You know what we do at this time, man. Time to fire it up with the Sunday montage, and here we go. In Nashville, the home finale for the Tennessee State Tigers went the way of the Gardner-Webb running Bulldogs 30-14. Cole Pennington on the day, 108 yards and a touchdown. Quayshawn Holmes, 23 rushes, 135 yards and a TD. Mr. Josiah Harris for the Bulldogs, 3 interceptions, part of 4 interceptions that Jonathan Palmer threw as he started the game. Hiram McNair came in. He gave it an effort. 171 and 2 touchdowns, both snap read. But in the end, Reggie Barlow's boys go down once again, 30-14. They're 0-7 in Big South OVC play. They got one more chance next week at Charleston Southern to avoid the season bagel. And, oh boy, it was a rough one there in Aggie land. The Monmouth Hawks, led by Frankie Weavers, 19 out of 27, 428 yards, 6 touchdowns in the air. And Mr. Rodney Nelson, the leading rusher in all the FCS, 163 on the ground and 3 TDs. Part of a 63-19 senior day beatdown of the North Carolina A&T Aggies. On the day, Mr. Kevin White struggled. 12 out of 24, but 183 yards. They were outgained 696-23. Oh, for those Aggies. Next week, they finish at Elon. And it wasn't much better in CAA. The Hampton Pirates. The William and Mary tribe come to town. Mr. Tyler Hughes, 17 out of 20, 207 yards, 5 touchdowns. 2 of them to Devin Thompson. Braden Davis started. Didn't have much going. Grayson Goldsmith had 2 on the ground rushing, but that's about it. As the Hampton Pirates fall 55-14. Next week, I hate to say it, but you're going to play Rhode Island, who's undefeated in CAA play, as you try to get your first win of the season in CAA play. Good luck, Pirates. And in the MEAC, the Morgan State Bears get their first MEAC victory of the season and keeping the Norfolk State Spartans and Michael Vick winless in MEAC play. 35-28 as they score 14 points in the fourth quarter. Raymond Moore, 183 in the air, 2 touchdowns and a rush TD. Randall Naughton tipped in with 87 on the ground. 14 fourth quarter points leads to taking advantage of another 3 turnovers in a game that the Spartans rushed for 286 and still lost. On the season, that's just the way it's been for Vic and boys. Hey, Morgan State, next week, North Carolina Central comes to Baltimore. Norfolk State, they go to Howard. Speaking of Delaware State, oh, this was an ugly game to watch, man. We'll talk about it in a little bit. Wayne Favors the third, 91-yard interception return. Oh, they overcame 18 penalties that they committed. They played both quarterbacks They held the Howard Bison to just 43 yards rushing and forced them to turn it over 3 times. Delaware State marches on to a championship effort next week against South Carolina State at home. Howard, they try to get another win next week against Norfolk State. Speaking of South Carolina State, this game went down Friday in Durham. This was a great game, man. South Carolina State with 14 fourth quarter points rally and come back to take down the North Carolina Central Eagles 34-27. Billy Atkins, 314 in the air, 2 touchdowns. Josh Shaw had 83 yards rushing in the game-winning 41-yarder. Oh, man, but for North Carolina Central, they had their chances, but in the end, they are eliminated from MEAC title contention. South Carolina State marches on next week as they take on Delaware State for the title. North Carolina Central, they finish out in Baltimore against Morgan State. In the SWAC, oh, those Southern Jaguars. The hits just keep on coming. Texas Southern led by KJ Coopers, 210 in the air, 3 touchdowns. Lawrence Butler, 65 yards rushing and 2 TDs. A key recovery of an onside kick turned the momentum in this game. Ashton Strother played a really good game by his standards. 191, 2 touchdowns in the air, and another rush TD. But in the end, 3 turnovers committed. Leads to the same old story for those Southern Jaguars. 35-30 Texas Southern Tigers as they roll on. Next week, they finish it out with Alabama A&M, while Southern week off before the Bayou Classic. And my Bulldogs, the Alabama A&M Bulldogs, their home finale. They fell for the 5th consecutive time to the Florida A&M Rattlers. This time 26-23. RJ Johnson, 299 in the air, 3 touchdowns passing and a rush TD. 2 from the Canary Wiltshire. Eric Hanley, he was game, but in the end, it was the Florida A&M Rattlers, 26-23. Next week for the Rattlers, it's the Florida Classic against Bethune-Cookman. A&M, they go to Houston to take on Texas Southern. And on the reservation, it was the home finale. The Alcorn State Braves played good defense in this one throughout. Jalen Tolbert, 23 of 30, 167. Rhett Davis, 2 touchdowns rushing on the ground. Eric Thomas even had a big man touchdown at the end. Oh, Hayden Benoit, he was great last week, but he had his struggles this week. No offensive touchdowns for Grambling in a 27-16 Alcorn State Brave win for Grambling. Next week, in 2 weeks, it's the Bayou Classic against Southern. Alcorn, it's the Soul Bowl against JSU next week. In Mobile, Port City Classic, one-sided, where Alabama State takes out Mississippi Valley State. Oh, shout out to Valley. 41-3. Holtzclaw, 2 rushing TDs. Marcus Harris, 14th rushing TD of the season. 28 third quarter points. 4 turnovers by the Delta Devils leads to a demolition in the Port City. Alabama State, they stay alive next week as they take on UAPB. Valley, they go to Prairie View. And a pretty interesting game down there in the vet, where Jackson State, they outlast the Bethune-Cookman Wildcats, who came to play. Jared Lockhart didn't really throw it too much. 83-yard touchdown pass to Mr. Janaylin Dupree. And then you had Miller, Davenport, Terrell, all 3 of them 100 yards each rushing. Then B.J. Washington, he sealed the deal with an 82-yard interception return in the 4th quarter as they take down the Bethune-Cookman Wildcats, 28-13. Next week, Soul Bowl against Alcorn. Next week for Bethune-Cookman, they finish it out in Orlando with the Florida Classic. And last but not least, the Prairie View A&M Panthers. They clinched the SWAC Western Division title as they totally beat down the Golden Lions of UAPB, 56-9. Cam Peters, 269 in the air, 2 touchdowns. Trace Bingham, 15 rushes, 135 and 2 touchdowns. This game was one-sided, y'all, completely in the favor of the Prairie View Panthers. And next week, Prairie View, they close out their home schedule with Valley. UAPB, they go to Alabama State. And ladies and gentlemen, that tonight is the montage. So everybody, make sure you hit the like button. And if you're watching me for the very first time, make sure you subscribe. And yes, it was Jameel Gardner. It was not Dupree. Yes, 83-yarder to Jameel Gardner and not Dupree. Yep. Oh, man, what a day. What a day, y'all. But hey, listen, we got some games we're going to talk about. And some of the stuff that I want to talk about here. I want to just quickly just give a few looks here to the teams that I haven't really spent a whole lot of time talking about really too much this year, and pretty much for reasons why probably you all would probably expect, because when you look at Tennessee State sitting here at 2-9, you look at North Carolina A&T sitting at 2-9, and you look at Hampton sitting at 2-9. You look at three teams here that have had their struggles throughout. What I will say is that for all three of these teams here next week, they're not favored at all, and it's going to more than likely end up being a 2-10 season for all three of these teams. For Tennessee State, I've always said that you just need to get Reggie Barlow early, because he's going to get himself together. He's going to get this team together. He's going to get his staff right. He's going to get some players right. He's going to get his system together. Just give him time. I know the results for these guys definitely don't show it, but they haven't been getting blown out as much as this team has and this team has, right? Go back. And this team has. So I just want to say for North Carolina A&T, I'll say this. I know you guys have very lofty standards down there, and it's been pretty rough rolling since you left the MEAC. I know you had that one good season, your first season in the Big South, but ever since you moved over to CAA yourself, and also for Hampton, it's been real tough, man. And listen, I know a lot of people think that, in the CAA, they think that you guys should come on back over and join the coalition again in the MEAC. Listen, man, regardless of what they do, listen, getting beat 55-14 and getting beat 63-19, this ain't it. That ain't it. So, and in the case of North Carolina A&T, you can look at their schedule and you see they've given up over 60 points 3 times. So that's not it. So bottom line, man, let's just move forward, and we'll go head on and we'll start here with the MEAC. So what I want to say here about this game right here, this was just another thing, another chapter in the long season that is for Norfolk State with Michael Vick. Michael Vick said at the end of the press conference yesterday after the game, he said, "I'm tired of singing the same old song and telling the same old story." These guys rushed for 286 yards. Kevon King struggled a lot the entire season. Parts of it, he was injured, and he had 189 yards rushing on the day. And even with their backup quarterback, Vincent Berry, these guys had a 28-21 lead entering the fourth quarter. Now, what's so significant about this, what I also want to mention is, in addition to Morgan State getting their first victory in MEAC play, this was really the first time that they really showed a bit of offense, when it counted here in the MEAC. And they got a win, and it's good for them. But for Norfolk State, listen, man, you see how quickly things started. Things started for these guys where everything was sky high. You had ESPNU, you had First Take there before the opener. There was so many lofty goals. Yesterday's attendance that they had there, they had 7,200 people show up. And honestly, it looked like it was less than 7,200 people that was there. The people who were on the bandwagon early, they fell off this thing really quick. Now, Michael Vick, you got one more game here at Howard next week, and then you're going to have to do some soul searching during the offseason. You got to figure out what it is that you really want to try to achieve with this program and what you want to achieve with yourself as a head coach. The tools are there, but the situational football has not. And so so moving forward, it might end up being 1-11. And if it ends up 1-11, man, hey, it can only go up from here. So, but shout out to Coach Damon Wilson and his guys for getting a win yesterday on the road and on a tough situation. And now we move to the Delaware State Hornets. And This game, as I said in the montage, y'all, this was a really, really tough game to watch. Your eyes are not betraying you when you see that Delaware State committed 18 penalties and Howard also committed 13 penalties. So 31 total penalties in this game. Okay. A whole lot of just bad, just bad execution all the way around, man. Delaware State, they ran the ball for just over 200 yards in this game. You know that their bread and butter has been running the ball. They've run it a little bit better than they have the last 2 weeks, but still, when you look at the way that Delaware State has been on this trend the last 3 weeks, okay, in MEAC play, as they head into their game next week, which is the winner take all against South Carolina State, you're going to have to really wonder if these guys really have enough in their arsenal to really get it done. You know, have they peaked at this point? And that's a really, really valid question. And on the other side, when you look at Howard, this is another one of those games where I just said about Michael Vick saying it's the same old song and dance. It's the same old song and dance for Howard. Now, in this game, Tariq Starks, he threw the ball better. But again, they were held to less than 100 yards rushing for the 3rd week in a row. They were held to 43 yards rushing. So they had 69 last week and 25 the week before that. And so for Howard, this is moving towards next year. And I know that there are some people who have some things to say about Larry Scott and his tenure. To me, I think that Larry Scott has established equity because just 2 years ago, he did lead them to a MEAC title and a Celebration Bowl. But the fans there in D.C., they ain't happy. And for Delaware State, next week is for it all, man. And what a season it's been, regardless of what happens to Delaware State. What a season. And so now we move to this game that took place on Friday night. And I watched this thing from start to finish, and I fully enjoyed this game, man. This game had everything. You know, South Carolina State, they raced out to a 17-3 lead. They had things rolling. And then Billy Atkins, he threw an interception that was a pick 6. And on that pick 6, that's what turned all the momentum in the favor of North Carolina Central. North Carolina Central had the lead at halftime 20-17. They had a 27-20 lead going into the 4th quarter. They were doing the things that they needed to do. But then Billy Atkins, you know, he took over in that 4th quarter, except for celebrating too early on 3rd and goal. I know everybody saw on that 3rd and goal when he did the fake on the zone read. It was like, oh, they're getting ready to take the lead. And then he celebrates early and gets stopped at the 1-inch line. And then, you know, North Carolina Central, they stacked them up on 4th down. And then, you know, eventually South Carolina State, they get the ball back. And then Josh Shaw has the 41-yard touchdown run to win it. This game, it was a shame that somebody had to lose this game, man. It's a shame because both teams, you can tell that these guys are among the best that we have to offer in HBCU football. And he said, Atkins, he got his confidence back. You know something? Atkins has really been there the whole MEAC season. Like, this was his 3rd 300-plus yard game in the 4 games that they played in MEAC play. Billy Atkins has been great, man. He's been great. What they've been doing for him, they've been giving him time to throw on that offensive line. You know, he's been doing some things. He's been spreading it around. Jordan Smith, Johnson. He's been spreading it around, man. But on the other side of the fence, man, North Carolina Central had a veteran team coming into this season. Walker Harris, you know, he's been with that program 5 years, 2nd-year starter. You know, he struggled with his numbers, you know, missed a lot of receivers. But also, I'll tell you one thing that made a big difference in this game as well. Chauncey Spikes, number 0 for North Carolina Central, their top receiver. He was on a heater coming into this one. He had a 200-yard game against against Howard 2 weeks ago, and he had another 80-yard game last week in the victory that they had at home against Norfolk State. He had 5 touchdowns coming into this game, and he had 1 catch for 20 yards. And that 20-yard catch that he had was in the fourth quarter to extend the drive on 4th down. They had Jared Washington covering him exclusively the entire game. Jared Washington did a really, really good job covering him. And anytime the leading receiver can't get but 1 catch, that's a great job there. So for next week, we'll talk about this on Wednesday. Chennis Berry, he showed once again, his mettle, and he's still yet to lose a MEAC football game as South Carolina State's head coach. He's now a perfect 9-0 and has a chance to go 2 seasons of undefeated records and going back-to-back as a champion in the MEAC. Next week in the MEAC finale there at Delaware State, we'll be loving to talk about this game, man, next week. All right? So as I get ready to go into the SWAC, do what Mr. Hardy said. Like the stream, everybody. Like the stream. All right. So let's go. All right. So here we go into the SWAC. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this game, but one thing I want to say about this, Southern was playing a pretty good game. They had the lead 21-7, 24-14. Ashton Strother was making some plays. They outgained Texas Southern 437 to 369, but look in that parentheses, 3 big turnovers. And one of the big things that happened in this game that turned it around after Texas Southern scored to cut it to 24-21, their kicker executed a perfect onside kick, kicked the ball right into a defender for Southern whose head was kind of turned in a different angle. It hit off of him. They recover, and they never look back. Now, Texas Southern, this is just a season for them where they're going to look back at what could have been. They won this game. They're 4-3, but they let a couple of games get away out of their grasp. And but for them, they have a chance next week to finish 6-5, which will be a 1-win improvement over last year, because last year they were 5-6. For Southern, like he said, man, 1-10. Yeah, 1-10, man. Oh boy. And I'm gonna say all this too for Southern. I know a lot of people, they have a lot to say about who they should get at head coach. I'm just gonna say for yourself, Southern, you better think outside the box. And I don't mean by just hiring your head coach out the box. I'm talking about you might need to stray away from those lofty thoughts and those standard talks, because who you were and all that past history, you ain't that no more. You got to start reinventing yourself and do something different, because you've got a really, really good situation down there with your history. But like I said, 1-10, nobody saw that. All right, to my team. This game right here, I picked Florida A&M to win this game. I will say that I'm really happy that my Alabama A&M Bulldogs did show up and have some fight. This was a game that went back and forth the entire game. Eric Hanley, he showed up this week, throwing for 227 yards. Ryan Morrow had an 80-yard touchdown run, part of his 136. That's something that we had struggled with all year, was running the ball. We outgained Florida A&M in passing, in rushing. we had everything. Total yards, we had everything covered. What made the difference in this game was the fact that Alabama A&M had to kick some field goals, whereas Florida A&M scored some touchdowns. And it doesn't matter if you're outgaining people. If you don't finish drives with touchdowns, that's what'll happen. Shout out to R.J. Johnson, man. 299 yards, no picks, no turnovers. 3 touchdowns, and he had a rushing touchdown. This was a game that he showed up in, and this was probably the best game he played all season. Now, Kenari Wiltshire, fastest man on the field. He had a couple touchdowns and pitched in with it as well. So for Florida A&M, hey, you get another win. Next week you go to the Classic, see what you do down there. For Alabama A&M, this is really where it is for us. Next week, you're probably, you're not going to be favored against Texas Southern. It'll be a chance to finish the season with a win. But even if you don't finish with a win, expect a whole lot of changes in Huntsville. Sam Shade, I believe and still love the fact that he's our head coach. I will say to this is when he took over at Miles, his first year as a head coach at Miles, they were 1-9. You know how that tenure ended. For FAMU, you're still going to have questions to answer even regardless of how this season ends. That's so funny. He said, FAMU better be careful trying to get rid of Cozy. He said, Cozy is staying. He has a winning record. I see y'all, man. I see y'all. He said, and they'll thing gonna be, I believe. Hey, listen, man. Listen, man. Yeah, we got some work to do. I'm looking at y'all in these comments, man. Y'all funny in these comments. He said, in the words of the Isleys, I got work to do. Yeah, got work to do. A lot of work to do, man. A lot of work to do. Definitely got to rebuild that defense or build a defense. Got to get some guys, man. Got to get some guys. Got to see what it is. So anyway, shout out to Florida A&M. 5th consecutive win over Alabama A&M. So this game, they're on the reservation. And every year when these two teams get together, it's always a battle. And I know that there were a lot of comments, and I'm sure I'm going to see it here in the comments right now about Grambling having a lot of players that were suspended. And that will be something that will be up for interpretation. Hopefully it will be addressed tomorrow on the coach's call. I've already received a note that said, hey, I want to see if somebody can ask about the about the players that were suspended, but we'll see. But listen, this game this is what it boiled itself down to. Grambling, they couldn't get anything going on offense for real. They kicked 3 field goals from their offense. Their one touchdown, you see it, was Terrell Raby's 10-yard fumble return for a touchdown. So for everything that Hayden Benoit was able to do last week against Bethune-Cookman throwing the football, Alcorn State, they came out and they made it tough. Made it real tough. Jalen Tolbert, no interceptions this week. Reggie Davis had another really, really good game for these guys. He's been coming on, having, 2 touchdowns on the ground. And then, that big man touchdown at the end, while the game was still, in the balance, they were lateral in it, throwing it around, and Eric Thomas recovered and got a touchdown. So it's kind of funny. So I see why was BCU number 11. The number 11 that you guys were talking about, the one that was throwing all the haymakers, he didn't play yesterday. Remember, they have 2 number 11s. Okay. So anyway, Alcorn, next week, they get a chance to play spoiler. And just like this comment said, just figured this out too late. You're correct. These guys have won 3 games in a row in SWAC play and have been playing some of their best ball. And man, listen, Coach Thomas, he was so excited at the end of the game, man. He broke out in dance. He was dancing around. He was stepping. He was real happy. And that's good for him because, they had a real tough season. And yeah, I know Peasy. This is the guy right here, Mr. Alcorn, one of the Alcorn guys himself, man. This was a really, really good game for Alcorn. Coming in, doing what you need to do and getting your wins. For Alcorn, man, regardless of how it ends next week, it's going to be still a question about, man, what could have been? And for Grambling, hey, this was still a step forward season. You still got one more game against Southern. Your rival, you win that game, you go 8-4. I know Grambling fans, they love championships, but hey, given the recent history that you guys have had, if you go on and finish 8-4, I think that's something that everybody who's a Grambling fan or an alum would sign up for. But for Alcorn next week, hey, getting to 6-6, that would be a great look for 6-6 for them, because that would mean that you went to the vet and got a win. So, but we'll talk about that game next week. All right. This game right here. This game, oh boy. Good thing for the Delta Devils is there wasn't that many people down there in Mobile to see this. That's the only thing I can really say for the Delta Devils. Is the good thing is there was not that many people on hand to see this game. This game was a total mismatch whooping. All right. Now it was 13-0 at halftime, and then Alabama State, I don't know, probably Coach Rob went in the locker room and said, "Hey fellas, what the hell is going on? We're only up 13-0. And then the third quarter, Jamari Holesclaw went nuts. Marcus Harris went nuts. And then all the turnovers went crazy. All right. 28 third quarter points put this thing away. Point blank, period. Valley was already playing without their starting quarterback, Josh Brown, who had a finger injury. So Nunez, it didn't matter who they had in there. This was complete mismatch. And Kevin Sims said the most boring game of the weekend. Hey, listen, man. Shout out to Valley. Shout out to Valley. I just got to say, y'all got 2 more games. And silver lining is you get FAMU at the end of the road in your place on Black or Saturday of Thanksgiving weekend. For Alabama State, this was just about do what you need to do to stay in it, and they did. All right, I'm going to come back to Jackson State here in a minute. Let me go to Prairie View. All right, so for Prairie View, congrats to them. They clinched the West Division title, and they did it in emphatic fashion. The thing that really was really interesting in this game was, you pretty much knew where it was headed when Christian Peters, the quarterback for the Golden Lions, he left with an injury early. Once he left, you knew where this thing was headed. And I got to say, man, whatever Coach Jackson said or however he prepared them, the Panthers came out with a clear mission yesterday. And they said, we're not going to waste no time with these boys. We're going to rack them up and knock them down. And that's what they did. 28-3 at halftime. It was no question. And it was on to a coronation. Cam Peters, once again, another solid game. 20 out of 29, 269, 2 touches in the air. Mr. Bingman. These guys, they got some formulas, man. They got some formulas. And listen, they've got one more game against Valley next week. And it's a chance for them to go out in style, get a 9-3 record, work on some things with their lineups and all those different things, and then they'll get a bye week before they play the SWAC championship game. So for Prairie View, hey, yesterday I know it was UAPB, but I gotta say, from Wild Wayne to you guys, I like the look. I like the look. That's the look of determination, and it's gonna take that much more for you to get this SWAC championship title. But for one, starting now, you did step one. You got the West Division title, and you got it out the way early, and you removed any kind of, let's just say, any kind of grief or any drama. So for UAPB, next week they go to Alabama State, and it's going to be kind of tough for them next week too, because Alabama State's in survival mode as well. So, but yeah. Congrats to Prairie View A&M, man. Congrats. And they won all their games in the West this year. 5-0 in the West. Congrats to them. Regardless of what anybody thinks, they earned it. All right, now let's talk about Jackson State. This game right here, I know there are a lot of Jackson State fans. I want to definitely hear your Want to hear just how you really, really feel about this game. And the thing that I will say is this was not your best effort in terms of playing on offense. Now, what was impressive on offense is you had another solid rushing day. You had 3 guys go over 100 yards rushing. Never have any problem with that. But this game, like on the very first plays from scrimmage, when Lockhart threw that 83-yarder, the touchdown, I thought that I was like, oh boy, here we go. But then Javon Ross returned a 98-yard kickoff return for a touchdown right back. Bethune-Cookman had so many opportunities, many of them. And one of the things that I thought was a key point in this game was when it was 14-13, Cam Ransom fumbled the ball there at midfield, and they were moving the ball at midfield. And that took the sails out of them. And at the end of the day, this was more so too about how well Jackson State's defense played, because they didn't give up any offensive touchdowns this entire game. No offensive touchdowns. And, all they gave up was 3 points in the second half. But Bethune-Cookman, they had their chances. And I hear what people saying, the refs and all this stuff. Listen, I watched this game from start to finish. And I got to say, though, there was a lot of things in this game where Jackson State, there was some conservative, being a little conservative on offense. Now, I know a lot of that, too, was about the fact that defensively they were stopping Bethune-Cookman. Cam Ransom, he tried, but in the end, it was just like, you kind of knew where this thing was headed. But at the end of the day, hey, listen, Jackson State, they got their win. They stay in control. And next week, they have a golden opportunity that's in front of them. I hear everybody saying we won. But listen, this is what I want to say about this game, Jackson State fans, for those of you that just saying, but we won. Listen, you want to be playing your best football. And I see people say, go back and watch the missed calls. Okay. But I did see the execution that wasn't completely there either. So I don't want to hear. I don't want to get into you guys talking about missed calls. Can't hide behind the refs a lot, man. Can't hide behind the refs, because you know that there are certain things that you had a chance to do to make this game a lot further than just this 28-13, where BJ Washington, gets that 82-yard interception return in the fourth. I just want to say that. All right. Now, next week, you guys are playing Alcorn. And listen, there ain't no more need for any motivation that's in front of you now. You know exactly what you have to do. You win, it's over. And that's where I'm headed to right now. I'm headed right here to the scenarios, all right? And said, did I look at the stats? Said, did I look at the stats? Yes, I did. I looked at the stats. I know. You guys ran for well over 300 yards. I see everybody. Look at everybody. They said, let's revisit this after December 20th. Said JSU. Yes, they dominated the game. Yes. We know that. Yep. He said, excuses. All right. Listen up, everybody. Let's go into the scenarios. And people saying, go back and look at the game. Can't beat the refs. It was BS. You won the game. You won the game. So let's move forward. All right. Title game. If the season ended today, it would still be Prairie View at Jackson State. Okay. Jackson State would still be the host team due to being ranked in the FCS. Jackson State now next week, they will host with a win over Alcorn State. Alabama State will host if they beat UAPB and Jackson State loses. Prairie View will be the host if they beat Valley and both Jackson State and Alabama State lose. Pretty much what you got now. And here you go. That's just the tiebreaker policy. You guys know this. Those that have been watching me week after week, you know I've said the same thing week after week with this. So you guys know this is how this works. That's the tiebreaker host policy, so on and so forth. All right. Now, here we go. Here's the scenario now. This is very simple now. Headed into the last week of the season here in play. Jackson State, you clinch the East with a win over Alcorn, or an Alabama State loss to UAPB. All right. For Alabama State, you clinch the East with a win over UAPB plus a Jackson State loss to Alcorn. And if for some reason both teams lose, Jackson State will still win the East on that tiebreaker. All right. So that's where you are now. The very, very last week of the season, where win and go on and lose and go home, or lose and be looking to, maybe get in the playoffs. That's just kind of where it is if you're Jackson State. And if you're Alabama State, if you want to see any postseason play, you need to win and hope for a loss by Jackson State. Pretty simple. All right. Now, we move to the MEAC clinching scenario. Very simple for them. We got a winner-take-all game on Saturday afternoon at 1 p.m. Eastern in Dover, Delaware. South Carolina State goes to play Delaware State. Both of them are 4-0 in league play. The winner wins the MEAC and advances to the Celebration Bowl. Flat out. So you have a de facto MEAC championship game. So that's where it is in the MEAC, and that's what you got in the SWAC. All right. So all this year, of all the games that have been played, it now comes down to one final week. All right. One final week. So everybody make sure you hit the like button on the stream. Like the stream, like the stream, like the stream. He said, RJ, he said, MEAC got about 102,000 weeks. It ain't that long, man. It ain't that long. It'd be about 3 weeks. But that's what we got. And then we got somebody said they're chasing their 20th MEAC championship. Yeah, it'll be interesting. We'll definitely talk about it on Wednesday. All right. So everybody like the stream. And I'll go right here now to my ride tokens. These are my ride tokens for week number 12, y'all. My first ride token of the weekend, it goes to Mr. Billy Atkins of South Carolina State and that big victory that they had over North Carolina Central. 24 out of 36. It's 36. 314 yards, 3 touchdowns. So great game for Billy Atkins. My second token, it goes to Mr. RJ Johnson, Florida A&M. He was 20 out of 24, 299 yards, 4 touchdowns, and a rush TD. So that's a really, really good effort for Mr. RJ Johnson of Florida A&M. He gets the second ride token. My third ride token of the week goes to Mr. Chase Bingman of Prairie View A&M in the clinching victory, 56-9 win over the UAPB Golden Lions. Mr. Bingman had 15 rushes, 135 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And then my defensive token, I'll give this a team defensive token to Jackson State because in the effort, no offensive touchdowns allowed and 3 second half points allowed. So, and yes, that is where it is. And Paris says, our running backs not offensive tokens? No, not this week. Not this week. You know, I shouted out that you had 3 of them go over 100 yards, and that's pretty awesome. But I think your defense really won the day for you guys. So I give it to your defense. All right. But these are the rest of the ride tokens I see here. He said in Billy we trust. Yep. Paris said, that's crazy. And you know what? I'm gonna tell y'all something, man, about these ride tokens, man. You know, I love the fact that people take it so serious. I love that, man. I had somebody send me a note and say, man, you snubbed our receiver last week. I said, wow. I said, man, I didn't know people cared about this stuff like that. But hey, I appreciate that though. I appreciate everybody's interest in it. Appreciate it. All right. So let's go to the standings. All right. So here are the standings as they're updated. So in the East, you see what we have with basically now we got the 2-horse race down to the final weekend where you got both teams 6-1. Jackson State as the tiebreaker. You know what it is there in the East. You look over here in the West, the gold star goes to Prairie View because they have clinched the West Division and they have clinched their spot in the SWAC title game. And so they will finish the season out next week. And then you see the 4-3 log jams, man. And then you go over here to the MEAC. You look over here, you got your 2 teams up there at 4-0. And yeah, that's where it is. So everybody make sure you like the stream, everybody like the stream. All right. And if you have not subscribed, make sure you subscribe. All right. Now, here is the schedule for week number 13. And as quick as the season started, is as quick as we've ended up here in week number 13, the final full slate of the regular season. All right. So the HBCU Go game will be down in Houston this week as Alabama A&M goes down to take on Texas Southern in that finale. Then we've got Mississippi Valley State. That's their second to last game, next to last game as they go down and they take on SWAC West champ Prairie View. That'll be on SWAC TV. On the Griot, you've got UAPB going to take on Alabama State in a game that Alabama State needs badly. All right. Then you've got the Florida Classic. Got these guys making a renewal down there in Orlando on ESPN Plus between Bethune-Cookman and Florida A&M. That game last year was 41-38. It was a real exciting game. So look forward to seeing that one. And then you got the big one there in Jackson. You got the Soul Bowl, the renewal of the Soul Bowl with Alcorn coming to the vet to try to play spoiler against Jackson State. That'll be on ESPN Plus. So that's what you got in the SWAC next week, everybody. And I see people already talking. He said, let's get to these predictions, Wayne. Hey, so that's what we got in the SWAC this week, all right? And so now we go over to the MEAC, and you've got Norfolk State and Howard finishing up there in D.C. That game's going to be played at Audi Field there in D.C. That'll be on ESPN Plus. Likewise, on ESPN Plus, the finale there for North Carolina Central as they head to Baltimore to take on the Morgan State Bears. And then you've got the championship game in the MEAC, where you've got South Carolina State going to face Delaware State. That'll be on ESPN Plus. And then you got on the right side, you've got Tennessee State finishing out at Charleston Southern on ESPN Plus. And then in the CAA, you've got Hampton going to play at Rhode Island, who will try to clinch the CAA title. And then you've got North Carolina A&T finishing at Elon. All right. So that is the schedule for next week in the MEAC and everything else. All right. So I'll go back over here and I'm looking here. Look at and said, G said, don't look now. You know, and the one thing, listen, I'm gonna say this. They said, here comes G. And you know what? I'm gonna say this. This is one thing I thought about earlier when I thought about this game. When I thought about this game here, G. This is what I thought about this game when Alcorn won there in the vet 2 years ago. I remember that sound bite that you had. It's pretty famous by now. You said that was a homegrown. This whooping came from scratch. I remember that. So if you're Jackson State fans, you definitely don't want to hear this man making another soundbite. Because if this man makes another soundbite on Saturday, whoo-wee, that's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say. He said G gonna have to not take a bath until a basketball game. Said that won't be happening again. I see everybody already talking. Everybody already talking, giving it to G. But anyway, shout out to my boy G, man. So yeah, that's the schedule for next week, y'all. It said keep hope alive. All right. So let me move right here to my final words of the night, everybody. And I want everybody to make sure you like the stream. Once again, like the stream, everybody, like the stream. Hit that like button right now. All right. This is my final word of the night. All right. I want to say, first off, shout out to the teams in Division II that the HBCUs that made it to the Division II playoffs. We got 5 of them. 5. Kentucky State's in there. And then, you got Albany State, and you got, you've got Johnson C. Smith, Virginia Union, so you've got 5 teams that made it in Division II. So let me just first say that, and I'll shout that out. Okay, now part of my final word tonight, I want to say, for everything that we have in terms of like coaching searches, I said something a couple weeks ago when I had my 10 minutes where I talked about firing coaches and things like that. Okay. Now listen, I know that winning in today's day and age, it's harder and harder and harder. And the thing that we need to make sure that we keep in mind when it comes to talking about firing coaches is you need to be very, very realistic about where you are and who you are. Now, I know we got people who are, who believe that their team should be better always. They should always be winning. I had somebody tell me a couple days ago, they said our program, our expectations are we should be competing for the SWAC championship every single year. And yeah, while that's a goal, it's really what it should be is a goal. It's a goal is so much different than an expectation. And I think that a lot of people, they misrepresent the two terms. It's good to have a goal of winning a championship. It's good to have a goal of getting to Atlanta and winning Celebration Bowl. It's good to have a goal. But the thing that's so different about expectations versus goals have to be attainable. All right. Expectations can get jaded because of certain thoughts about you think about, well, we've won so many games in the past. We have standards, and don't get me started on standards. But there's just so many different things that we have to really be conscious of about who we are as fans and alums. Because a lot of times we want coaches to be fired or we want changes to be made because of the expectations that we put on them. And you got to remember, teams don't rank themselves. Media ranks teams. I get it that there are coaches that say a lot of things in the media. They say little things to try to, pump themselves up. I get it. But when things don't go the way that you expected them to, it's a time for you to reflect and think about where the vision of the program is. And I know exactly where I am as an Alabama A&M fan and an alum. I'm one of those people where I take losses a lot different than a lot of folks do. For me, I look at losing and I say, well, man, I look at where we currently reside and I said, man, we're trying to build something better. We're trying to grow something. Some of you, like in the case of Jackson State, I understand where you are. You're in the era of winning now. And the expectation is we need to win. And that's okay for you to have that expectation because it's been earned. You've put yourself in a position with one win to be able to go back to defend your SWAC title. If you're an Alabama State fan, you also have a chance, to establish something for yourself. All right. But in the case of where we are as fans, as alums, and everything like that, we can't fire everybody. Somebody's got to have a chance to build something back. Somebody. Like I said again, I'll say it one more time. We cannot fire everybody. Because if you look at where we are right now, the longest tenured head coach in the SWAC is just completing his 4th year. Seriously. And I see somebody saying, if you listen to somebody to sound like this, listen to somebody to sound like this dude, that's real funny. But anyway, all I'm saying like this is our standards at every place, they're different. The expectations at every place should really be different. Some people are in a better place to win than others. But I'll say here, I like this. He said, keep firing coaches and you'll be starting from scratch each year. That's exactly where I wanted to go with that. How many of us really want to go and start from scratch every single year? How many of us want to do that? How many want to do that? And that's just really where it's at, man. That's really where it's at. And like I said, you can disagree with me because it's okay. You can disagree with me all you want. But I'll tell you like this, as you hit your head up against a brick wall, as you hit Twitter, as you hit Facebook, and you say some of these things that you like to say, because a lot of times you get in your feelings because you put expectations on your team. And when they didn't meet it, you say, oh, well, I need to get some redemption. We need to get some blood. We need to get somebody fired. Listen, we can't fire everybody. And like Sad Walker said, firing coaches places stress on each other's schools' pocketbooks. Thank you. So that's all I really wanted to say tonight, everybody. It's all love. And like I said, I'm a guy here. I love every single HBCU team. I root for every single team that is out here. Everybody. I don't care about the trash talk. I don't care what gets said. I don't care if somebody disagree with me. It's all well and good. You can disagree with me. You know what I'm saying? Because we all have our opinions. We all do. Thank you, Mr. Johnny Thornton. I appreciate that. Everybody's got an opinion. But with your opinion, it just says, only thing I'm saying is everybody just needs to just stop for a second and just take a look at your situations. You need to take a look at your trends. You need to look at the leadership. You need to look at the administration. You need to look at all that stuff. And, oh man, I like this. I like what he said here. He said there are two first year head coaches. I hear that. But Mr. Ron T, that's not typical though. Because for every two first year head coaches, then you have a Michael Vick. Michael Vick's 1-10 right now. Also, for every one of these two head coaches, man, you got like Sam Shade, who's 4-7 right now. Terrell Buckley is 1-9 right now. Period. It's a crapshoot. So, yeah, and I agree. No other coach needs to be fired this offseason. But we'll see, man. We'll see. Okay. my time's well spent tonight. Everybody, make sure you hit the like button, and you do all your good things this week. This is the very last week of the regular season in its fullness. I'll pull up the schedule here one more time. This is what we got next week in the SWAC. You've got Alabama A&M going to play at Texas Southern. That'll be on HBCU Go. Then you've got Valley at Prairie View. Then you got UAPB at Alabama State, Bethune-Cookman at FAMU, and you got Alcorn State going to play Jackson State in the Soul Bowl and all that good stuff. All right. And I will say this also. Tomorrow I will be on the SWAC coaches call as well as the MEAC coaches call, as I am always on Mondays. Should be interesting to see what the tenor of some of the coaches are, and we'll see what it is. He said, what he said? He said, Real G podcast coming soon. I'm going to call out all these lames, podcasters and lame commenters. Pull up if you want to. Everybody's getting put on blast. Okay. All right. Hey. Anyhow, appreciate you watching, though, my guy. Appreciate you. But anyway, that is the show tonight. I will be back on Wednesday with the predictions and the picks for week number 13. We'll go through the entire slate. And yeah, this was great, man. Hope everybody is well out there. I appreciate everybody's time. Make sure that you hit the like button and subscribe. And I see people are saying different things about my man. Hey, listen, regardless of what you say, Paris, about him, hey, I appreciate that he even tuned in. He can say whatever he wants about me. Still ain't gonna change the fact that I know what the hell I'm talking about. Hey, but listen, I love everybody. Love every single body that's out here. Love all y'all. Love all your teams. Love the whole culture. I do this stuff for you. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is the show tonight. And thank you for joining me on the ride once again. We will see you, well, you'll hear from me on the coach's call tomorrow, and I'll see you Wednesday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 p.m. Central. Thank you. God bless you, and good night.
Thank you for joining us on the ride with Wild Wayne Cartwright. As you exit the ride, make sure you subscribe to this YouTube channel, hit the like button, and catch up on all of our prior episodes. Until next time, God bless.